It's a series victory for the New York Mets. Make that two series victories in a row, this time over the crosstown rival New York Yankees. The Mets have now won 4 of their last 6 games after a brutal 3-week stretch. Are the Mets back? We're talking about it right here on the True Mets Talk podcast. All right, Mets Nation, welcome back to the True Mets Talk podcast. It's your boy CP. We're talking Mets versus Yankees in what was a very exciting Subway Series over the holiday weekend at Citi Field. Before we fully get into this video, please do smash those thumbs up buttons, subscribe to the channel, and comment your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments section. This is how things played out at Citi Field over the weekend in the 3-game set, with the Mets taking the first two and the Yankees taking the third game to salvage the series on their end. Both of these teams came into this series struggling mightily, and both relinquishing the division leads in their respective divisions. It's been a really tough stretch of baseball in New York for both of these teams objectively. But this was a much needed series victory for whoever came out on top, and that just happened to be the New York Mets, winning the first game 6-5 and the second game 12-6. Now, I will say I am thoroughly proud and impressed that the New York Mets took this series from the Yankees. And I think that this is such a win, even though it wasn't a sweep, it's such a win to know that you were throwing Justin Hagenman, Austin Warren, Frankie Montas. And I'll get to Frankie Montas here in just a second, but Chris Stavinsky and every other guy that came out of this Mets taxed bullpen that appeared in this series, right? And then you went up against some pretty quality starters for the New York Yankees, at least what they have to offer right now in the top end of their rotation, and Carlos Rodon, Marcus Stroman, and Max Fried. So to take 2 of 3 from the Yankees, given the pitching matchup disadvantage that the Mets were faced with going into this series, is a huge win. And this is the most important thing that I'm going to take away from this weekend. I'll get right to the point. This is what stuck out. The booth said it perfectly during this series. The Mets offense was going to have to put up runs given the pitching situation that the Mets are faced with right now. Now, before we talk about the offense, clearly there's good news and there's help on the way with Sean Manaea, and really good news about Kodai Senga, who could potentially make an appearance depending on how he's feeling before the All-Star break. We were all thinking that Kodai Senga was going to be back after the All-Star break. The Mets were going to play a little bit more conservatively with him, but he could be back if he feels good before the All-Star break. The reinforcements on the pitching front, they're on the way. They're on the way. And the Mets are still going to need more pitching. And by the way, tomorrow on the channel, I'm going to be releasing a new video. So keep an eye out on that. Hit the notifications button because we're talking about Mets trade deadline pitching targets. I'll go over the top 3 and give you all who my favorite is. So stay tuned to that. But it's pretty obvious that right now the Mets are strapped on the pitching side of things, and they're just trying to make things work before this All-Star break. And Mendoza's just trying to make something happen with this team to go into the All-Star break on a high note. And they're doing that. And they're doing that right now. So the offense, let's get into the offense, right? I mean, top to bottom, just great series overall for multiple guys. Brandon Nimmo, especially with the grand slam in that middle game, jumping on Carlos Rodon very early into the ball game and getting the Mets pitching staff, Frankie Montas, a lead. Jeff McNeil continuing a very good stretch of at-bats for Jeff McNeil. Much needed, whether he's in the 5 hole or whether he's batting 7, 8, wherever he is in the lineup. Really good to get his versatility and continue to see him get on base. Pete Alonso also providing some power in this series with a monstrous shot, a multi-home run game in that middle game. Good to see him starting to get back on track as he inches closer and closer to Darryl Strawberry's all-time Mets home run record. Everybody was getting in on the action pretty much. Juan Soto, we got to talk about Juan Soto. Listen, I don't want to kick Yankees fans when they're down, but I have to here. I have to. All this talk about Juan Soto, especially The last go around, the Subway Series that happened in the Bronx when Juan Soto was struggling in that series and overall with the numbers. Juan Soto took that very personally and had himself a hell of a series. He got things going in the opening game, evening things up with a 2-run home run off of Marcus Stroman. Marcus Stroman could not figure out how to get Juan Soto out. And he even admitted to that in the postgame. Juan Soto, he's on a tear right now. He's on a tear. The NL Player of the Month in June. And he's having a really good start to his July as well. All-Star snub. That man should have been an All-Star. It's absolutely ridiculous. First off, I want to congratulate. I know I'm going every which way in this video, but bear with me here. Congratulations to Pete Alonso. Another All-Star appearance for him. Same thing with Edwin Diaz, right? Congratulations to those two. Congratulations to team captain, All-Star, New York Mets All-Star, Francisco Lindor. Much deserved after getting snubbed multiple times in his Mets tenure. Francisco Lindor finally gets into the All-Star game. Awesome. But Juan Soto deserves to be in this All-Star game, and it's an absolute sham that he isn't. It's ridiculous. It's a joke. Better numbers than Corbin Carroll. Better numbers than Fernando Tatis. I mean, to not even get voted in by the fans nor the players is an absolute joke. I know that he started off on a really bad note this season, but what he's been able to do in terms of salvaging the season and salvaging his overall numbers over the past little over a month now, he's sporting over a 900 OPS. How many All-Stars on the NL team right now in terms of the outfielders have over a 900 OPS? I mean, come on. What are we doing here? So anyways, Juan Soto. That's all right. They didn't want you in the All-Star game. Rest up, enjoy the break, regroup, and let's go on a run after the All-Star break. But this series was exactly what the doctor ordered for the New York Mets. Exactly what the doctor ordered. I know that the Yankees fan base is going to say, oh, it's a wash, right? 3-3 for the Subway Series. Okay, they won the last game. And that's okay from their perspective. And I understand that. But both of these teams coming into this series, given how these teams are performing over the past couple of weeks, needed to win this series. That's what they were telling themselves going into this series. And it's awesome to see the Mets get the job done. But again, from the pitching side of things, offensively, we can keep going on. Brett Baty had himself a good series. Ronnie Mauricio, right? Two times in game 2 and 3, pinch hit, base hits to set things up. And honestly, that third game that the Mets dropped most recently 6-4 when they had Chris Davinsky opening up the game, pitching 2 scoreless innings. Who would have thought that would happen? They fared pretty well in making a comeback attempt after going down 5-0. And honestly, they had the traffic on the bases to make a comeback happen if it weren't for 2 fantastic defensive plays. One by Cody Bellinger, making a shoestring grab to get the double play and get the force out on Francisco Lindor, trying to make it safely back to first. And then the very next inning, a base hit, pinch hit, base hit, leadoff hit by Ronnie Mauricio again to get things going for the Mets. A bullet off the bat of Brett Baty to Paul Goldschmidt, who makes a brilliant play to get the double play there and erase any comeback effort. But all series long, the New York Mets offense was forcing the issue, putting pressure on every single Yankees pitcher that went up onto the mound, whether it was a starter or whether it was a reliever for them. And their bullpen, just like our bullpen, is absolutely taxed. They're trying to figure something out. And they got brutal news as well with Clark Schmidt needing Tommy John surgery and his season being done. So both of these teams are in a very similar situation with injuries, but it does seem again like the Mets are having their reinforcements come back sooner rather than later. And I mentioned Sean Manaea, right? I mentioned Kodai Senga, but Jesse Winker as well. having a couple of rehab assignment starts under his belt in the minor leagues, is also set to rejoin the team this coming week, whether it's in Baltimore or whether it's in Kansas City. So good stuff happening all around for the New York Mets. And I want to give a special shout out, right? I know I'm kind of going all over the place with each of these games. That's okay. Special shout out one to Frankie Montas, right? Having a bounce back outing after that debacle in Pittsburgh. He goes 5 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs allowed, but he really did impress me in this start. And it helps, again, it helps when the Mets offense gives you some breathing room, right? It helps immensely. You're not pitching so tense. You're not needing to be perfect. You can let them put the ball in play. And if you give up a home run, so what? On to the next batter because you still have the lead. And also, special shout out for another bounce back outing, much needed to preserve Edwin Diaz for that second game. Reed Garrett going 6 outs for the save in game 1. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. I know that Reed Garrett has been struggling. We've been calling it out on the videos and streams that we've been doing. I think he really needed that outing as a confidence booster moving forward. So, all in all, like I said, I'm going to repeat myself one more time. Back-to-back series wins for the New York Mets. Are they back? Well, after the Mets dropped the first game to the Brewers in that doubleheader, the last time I did a stream before I went on vacation. Vacation was great, by the way. Had a great time in New Mexico. I got a couple of short videos on my channel out while I was on vacation, but no streams, no videos. I really wanted to sit back and enjoy my time. But ever since that game, they went and took this series from the Brewers, and we were complaining about the offense, specifically me. I was complaining about the offense and asking, when was this offense fully going to take over? When were they going to help out the pitching staff that clearly needs help right now, given the injury situations? And they finally get it done, right? 6 runs, 12 runs, 4 runs, going back to the Brewers series, last game, 7 runs. Great stuff. Really good stuff to see from this offense that has been struggling as a collective unit, finally putting things together. And hopefully, with the addition of Jesse Winker here shortly, I know that we're going to have to see what happens to Starling Marte as he kind of tweaks something in his knee in his final at bat of game 3 versus the New York Yankees in the Subway Series. We'll see if he goes on the IL or not. But Jesse Winker having the ability, and also, by the way, how did I miss Starling Marte? He had himself a hell of a series against the Yankees as well. Plugged into the leadoff spot, no problem. Multiple hit games. I mean, really good stuff from Starling Marte. Unfortunate to see him have that knee tweak. We'll see what comes of it. Hopefully he doesn't have to go on the IL, but if he does, just in case he does, Jesse Winker can serve as that immediate re-addition onto this roster. But this is the look ahead. This is the look ahead. A team that has been playing decent baseball as of late, but their season has been a wash. It's been really disappointing to see what the Baltimore Orioles have been doing. The Mets travel to Baltimore for a 3-game set with the Baltimore Orioles. Fun fact, I'll be at this first game at Camden Yards for that 6:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time start with Clay Holmes on the mound. And this is a series where you can set the tone by taking the first 2 games with 2 good pitchers, right? In a lackluster rotation right now on the mound for the New York Mets. Clay Holmes and then David Peterson take the first 2 and then find a way to win that 3rd game in the matinee at 105. If I had to guess, because what I'm seeing on ESPN right now is it's TBD for who's going to be throwing in that 3rd game for the New York Mets, I would guess that there would be some sort of variation of maybe Huascar Brazaban and Blade Tidwell again, like we saw in game 2 of that doubleheader against the Milwaukee Brewers on July 2nd. So, again, I understand that the Orioles have been struggling all in all this season, but they're coming off of a sweep against the Atlanta Braves. They're playing some good baseball. And this is not a team that the Mets should be taking lightly. This could be said for the next series as well after this Orioles series when the Mets travel to Kansas City and take on the Kansas City Royals. But to close things out here, again, I really am encouraged by this New York Mets offense and what they have done in that Brewers series and this Yankees series. Hopefully, the offensive power continues in Camden Yards and we see another series victory. It's all about stacking series victories. Find a way, even given the roster troubles that the Mets have right now, find a way to go into the All-Star break on a high note. Get the reinforcements back. We're going to be talking about trades coming up soon with the trade deadline approaching. David Stearns has to get to work, regroup, and make a run in the second half. The division is still within reach, only a game and a half out behind the Philadelphia Phillies. A lot of season left. Again, appreciate you all tuning into the True Mets Talk podcast. A little bit of a series recap, a little bit about the state of the New York Mets right now. I'm confident, especially if this offense can keep looking the way it has been over the past few games. I like the New York Mets' chances. I really do. Tomorrow, new video will be out on the channel. We're talking starting pitching trade outlook for the New York Mets. And we're talking about 3 names in particular. So hit the notifications buttons, hit those thumbs up buttons, subscribe to the channel. You know where to find me. It's your boy CP. This has been the True Mets Talk podcast. I'm out. Peace.